Good afternoon, everyone. This is attorney Ahmad Yakzan from the American Dream Law Office, here for our weekly live session that we have every Wednesday at 2 o'clock. I'm the owner of the American Dream Law Office, and we've had a great week at the American Dream Law Office. We won a bunch of cases. We brought on a lot of clients, and we are very excited about the second half of the year and how it's going to end. I'm here to answer any questions that you might have. Drop it in the chat or drop it in on TikTok, where we are also live. My goal today on TikTok is to reach 1,000 hearts. So if we can do that, I would really appreciate it. I have a bunch of questions from people who have contacted us this week, and I will be more than happy to answer some of them. Again, if you have any questions, please drop them, or I can answer questions that are submitted by our followers during the week. The one thing that I want to mention this time is I think we're coming up on the at the end of summer here, and President Biden promised that by the end of summer he's going to have something that has to do with helping people who are married to U.S. citizens who came in an irregular way to the United States, helping them get their permanent residence in the United States. We're awaiting that. We're expecting that to happen by the end of the month. So if you are undocumented in the United States and you're trying to get your permanent residence and you entered across the border without a legal entry, please let us know. Call us. The number is 888-963-7326, or you can go to our website, americandreamlawoffice.com, where you can actually, we have the page in 3 languages, English, Arabic, and Spanish. We also can, you can actually schedule a 15-minute appointment to speak to one of my intake specialists. We've been doing nothing but immigration for about 15 years now, and we have everything pat down. So if you have any questions regarding anything, please let us know. One of the things that happened this week, which was actually I was very proud of, is we had a case for about 4 years. Our client was placed in removal proceedings in Orlando because he applied for for citizenship, and the government alleged that he actually lied on his green card application because he was married to 2 people at the same time. And as you know, the United States law doesn't allow polygamy. So if you're married to 2 people at the same time, you cannot actually get permanent residence. And that's one of the things that make you inadmissible into the United States. So they charged him with fraud in immigration court, and they said that he didn't have a valid visa to be here in the United States. And we actually fought the government for about 3 years since 2020, about 3 to 4 years. And then, because of the pandemic and everything, he finally he got scheduled in February for hearing. I actually did not concede any of the charges and told the government to go prove its burden, meaning that they have to prove the charges that they had against my client. So that at that hearing in February, they actually dropped one of the charges and left the charge for the misrepresentation or lying to a government officer standing. And I filed a motion to terminate the proceedings because they couldn't prove their burden. I also asked the government to go ahead and drop their charges because their charges is very weak and they didn't really have proof that my client did anything wrong. And on Thursday, they emailed me a couple of days before the hearing. We had the trial set for Monday, and on Thursday they emailed me and they said, "Okay, we agree with you. I think we should dismiss this." And we appeared online for the hearing for the trial, and it literally took 15 minutes because the judge agreed with both of us that it's not, the charge is not going to be sustained, and she dismissed the case. by agreement of the parties. So that was one of the greatest things. I love those cases because I always fight them. I always ask the government to prove their burden. A lot of immigration attorneys actually say, "Okay, well, I'm going to concede them and try to do something when it comes to relief." And I never concede any charges, especially if there is a criminal component to the case or anything like that. I definitely don't concede any charges. So if you or a loved one have a case in front of an immigration court, please give us a call. Again, the number is 888-963-7326, or you can go to our website, which is americandreamlawoffice.com. Also follow us on social media, please. We're on TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, and everything on the end. It's American Dream Law Office. Follow us, please. We need the followers on TikTok. We're almost at 10,000 followers, so if you can follow us, we would really appreciate it. Now, some of the questions that I got this since last Wednesday are actually very interesting. But before I say, I also want to talk about another case that we won this, and I mentioned it earlier. We mentioned that we won this week. We also won a case for someone who's a U.S. citizen but was denied a certificate of citizenship. We appealed it, and it went back to the Orlando field office, and we were very happy that the Orlando field office actually granted the case this week. So that's another one that we had this week that we were very proud of. We also got hired by a lot of clients. One of them is in removal proceedings in Houston. I also spoke to a bunch of people that call us from using their MetLife coverage. If you have legal insurance, we also help. We also help clients who have legal coverage for their immigration needs. So give us a call. This is a plug for something that we're going to be doing every month now. On August 28th, we have a live session, a webinar on StreamYard that's going to be about investment visas in the United States and how to get one, if it is a good option for you or not. Investment visas are actually very great options for a lot of people. You guys heard me mention the E2 visa multiple times in my videos and during our live sessions. The E2 visas are actually a very good option for people from certain countries. There's no minimum or maximum amount of investment, and you can come here and you can stay in the United States as long as that business is working. We also got hired by a client who wanted to do an investment visa in the United States and get transferred as an intra-company transferee, and we can apply for their green cards very soon too. I've answered some of the questions that we've had. So if you had a question that I don't answer, please go back on the old videos and the old lives and listen to some of those. Give us a like on them, and I've answered some of the questions that I got. So I'm just gonna go from the end to the beginning on some of the questions. Now, one of the questions that I got that I thought was actually very intriguing is, what are the challenges of living and doing business in the United States? Listen, I've been living in the United States for a very long time, about 25 years now, starting my 26th year very soon. I am a business owner myself. I own my own law firm, and the running a business in the United States is very difficult. It truly is. I mean, you have to put a lot of hours. I work about 70 to 80 hours a week, and I haven't had a day off in a very long time. To run a very successful business in the United States, you really have to put a lot of time in it. A lot of people don't understand that when they come to the United States. They think that I can take the business practices that I've had. I've been a very successful business owner overseas, and I'm going to come to the United States and use what I've learned and my years of experience and do the same things when it comes to the United States. And unfortunately, that's not how it works. Depending on the business environment in certain states, the state where you incorporate or the state where you end up running your business, there are some challenges. For example, I'm in Florida. There are no income taxes for people who do business in Florida. So or state income taxes they call them. So it's a very great place to actually run a business, the state of Florida. But some states like New York, for example, um, you do have um, you do have some challenges when it comes to state income taxes, which can actually be very high. So if I would do a lot of business planning before actually choosing which state I'm going to incorporate. And Delaware is a great place to actually incorporate. A lot of people actually incorporate in Delaware because they have some lax legal scheme when it comes to incorporation and all of that stuff. It's probably the best corporate scheme that you can have here in the United States. So get a business plan. That's the first step. If you're trying to use your business for an investor visa, have a competent attorney on your side. I would really be honored to help you with that. We've done them in the Philippines. We've done them all over the world, in the Arabic world and in Europe. So if you ever have any questions about business visas, give us a call. And again, if you hire me, I will be more than happy to help you as much as I can, because I have all the resources for people from CPAs to business brokers to all of that stuff that would help you. But probably the biggest challenge is finding the right people to work for you and uh, doing things how they are in the United States is taxing. It's hard, but it's actually a very good thing to do, and it's a very great way to reach your American dream. So the next question that I have is, what are the potential benefits of obtaining an investor visa? Again, this is a great question. Guys, if you're on TikTok, I would really appreciate some follows and some hearts. I would really appreciate that if you're watching our live on TikTok. Thank you so much. So there are a lot of benefits for investor visas in the United States. I mean, um, probably the one that a lot of people do investment visas for is to help the children, and a lot of those investor visas actually allow you to allow your kids to come to the United States, allow your kids to go to your spouse to work, your kids to go to school. Some states will actually allow them, if they graduate from college here in the United States, allow them to pay for in-state tuition compared to international, the student rates. So all of these things are benefits, but probably the biggest benefit when it comes to immigration is, again, the E2 visa allows you to stay in the United States for as long as your enterprise is working, for as long as that business is actually profitable and working. So it will allow you to stay here in the United States for a very long time. Some of them are open-ended. Now, um, also, a couple of them will allow you to get permanent residence, which is very good for you and for your children. And I know a lot of people, want to get that green card, and that's basically what a lot of people use an investment visa for. So if you're planning to actually come to the United States to invest, that's a great way to actually get a green card, especially if you have a business overseas. You're a business person overseas, and you're opening a branch for your company here in the United States, and you own both of them. There are ways for you to actually get a green card as an international manager, which is once you meet all of the requirements of that. Visa, you can actually apply for the green card right away. Um, Also, some of them, as I said earlier, the E2 visa, for example, you can I've started them for $17,000 for clients. So there is no minimum for them and there's no maximum. So you can use those. You can use those in a very strategic way for you to come and expand your business in the United States. Probably the biggest benefit, and this is the one that I love, is you get to live in the United States, which is a dream of a lot of people, and you know how great the United States is, and you're gonna absolutely fall in love when you come here to the United States. That's the biggest benefit. Just getting to experience the American dream and experience the life in the United States is probably the biggest benefit of having the investor visa. The next question is, how can I find a reliable investment opportunity? Now, um, I help a lot of clients um, find investment opportunities. I use a couple of brokers. They're very good friends of mine, and I've used them for a very long time, and they know what you really need when you're trying to do a visa. Um, so business brokers who actually, there are business brokers who are 100% specialized in finding businesses for foreign investors. um, there are a couple of websites that you can actually use to find businesses, all of that stuff. um, the uh, the best way, I mean you can also literally go online, and LoopNet, for example, has a lot of businesses that are for sale. You can hire a broker here in the United States to get you the business. um, the one the one thing that I would two things that I would caution about. The first thing is, stay in your lane. So if you're trying to invest money in the United States, I would stay away from restaurants. Personally, I don't like them. A lot of people have invested in restaurants and they failed within the first year. So if you don't know how to run a restaurant, don't actually get a restaurant to invest in the United States, because they're very bad investments. The second thing is, hire, when you're buying a business in the United States, hire someone to audit the books of the business that you are buying. A lot of it, and I had people actually, unfortunately, clients of mine who went and bought the business on their own before they came and hired me for their investor visas, and ended up getting scammed by the person who sold them the business, because they cooked the books and they filed taxes that were not actually correct. So they overstated the income that they were getting from the business. So these are the two things. These are the two things that I would caution you. But having the benefits, again, I answered the question earlier. Having the benefits far the uh, far outweighs the the drawbacks of becoming to being here on an investment visa. So if you are thinking about an investment visa, do it the right way, please. The next question that I have is, what's the difference between direct and indirect investment? So direct and indirect investment comes in when someone is trying to do what's called an EB-5, a green card. An EB-5 green card allows you to invest between $500,000 and 1.2 or $1.4 million in the United States and get a green card. Direct and that has actually been a a lot of people that came here to the United States who can actually do that amount of investment have been very successful in the United States and have gotten green cards here in the United States very easily. The direct and indirect investment, actually, they're terms of art when it comes to EB-5 investments. Um, First, the first one, the direct investment, means that you are directly using your money to invest in an enterprise that you yourself is going to run. So you are going to run your own business. That's a direct investment. So you put the direct investment into the United States. The indirect investment means that you're putting your money into a regional center or an entity that can actually get you the green card, the EB-5 investment threshold. That would be an indirect investment. So those are terms of arts when it comes to investing in an EB5 enterprise. Again, if you do have a question about EB5, it's absolutely a great option to come to the United States if you can afford it. Join us on the 28th. If you want the link for that, email us at intake@americandreamlawoffice.com, and I will actually give you the link to that webinar that we're going to be having very soon regarding regarding the investment visas and how to get a green card through investment. And that's going to be on August 28th at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so around this time. So the next question is, can I transfer my E2 visa to a different business? Absolutely. So I've done a lot of cases where a person comes in, opens an LLC, start running their E2 enterprise. They probably don't like the business anymore. They don't like the business anymore. So what they do is they change the business. And what you can do is you can actually ask for an advisory opinion from USCIS, and tell them that I'm changing the business. Do I need to file another I-129 petition for me to change my business model or not? And they actually usually answer you. If you do have to do it, then you will actually file the I-129. If not, they will return everything to you, and they would tell you it's not a big deal. You don't need to do that. So you can change it, the E2 enterprise model. That should not be an issue. But if you've done your work from the beginning and made sure that you did it correctly, hopefully you wouldn't have that buyer's remorse, and you will be able to actually stay with the business that you applied for your E2 from the beginning. I think that would be a very good option. Next question. What if my business fails? Can I still maintain my E2 status? Absolutely. And I saw that a lot when it came to businesses that were running during the pandemic, for example, that actually that people, for example, who ran restaurants, and people were just not coming to restaurants anymore, and they couldn't do, for some way, reason or another, they couldn't actually do delivery at the time. So they didn't actually survive. So you can still maintain your E2 status. It's going to be a hard petition for the renewal, but it's absolutely doable. And USCIS can be forgiving sometime. That you went through a hard time. Not every business succeeds, and as long as you do it under a petition, and you make sure that you actually explain what led to the business failing, or the business not making money, or not meeting the projections that you had in your business plan, you should be fine. So you can change that. Again, guys, if you want to know if your country is a signatory to a treaty that allows you to apply for an E2, I have that list on my website. If you go under business, immigration, and E2, that list is on my website. You can also Google E2 visa countries, and you'll be able to actually get that link if you want to. And if you are a national in one of those countries, the beautiful thing about the E2 is your spouse can come with you, even though they're not actually from the same country. So if you married someone who's not a national of the treaty enterprise, they can actually come with you. You can also transfer essential employees from your company overseas to your company in the United States, which a lot of people don't know, but that's actually a petition that you can actually do. Guys, if you are watching us on TikTok, I would really appreciate some hearts and some follows. Thank you so much. The next question is, what is the definition of substantial control for E2 visa purposes? Okay, so the rule is 51% of the enterprise should actually allow you to have substantial control over the business. 51%. Now, we do have some people. I've had some clients, for example, that came in and bought into a company that was worth millions of dollars, and they bought 10% of the stock, for example, or they bought 25% of the stock. Then that becomes a little bit more complicated than you owning 100% of the stock in a small business. The way that you structure that is that you do have you can actually structure it where you become the CEO, for example, or you become they give you a title that actually controls the decision making into a part of the company, for example. That will actually give you substantial control under the under the enterprise. If it's a multi-million-dollar enterprise, you can also own the majority of the stock in the company, for example, and that would give you substantial control. So it really depends on the circumstances of the business itself and what you will and it's actually case by case specific. So you have to worry about if you're worried about substantial control, then we have an issue, and I would speak to an attorney before signing that contract or establishing or buying that business if you're buying a business. Next question I have is, can I work for another company while on an investor visa? No. You're here. If you come here on an investor visa, you're only allowed to be here on the investor visa. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot do it, but it's going to look really bad on your record that you're working for someone else. There is an exception that I'll talk about in a second. If you come here to the United States to run the E2 visa enterprise, you're here to run the E2 visa enterprise or the E-visa enterprise. You can have someone petition for you, for example, for another visa for you to be able to work for them. Now, one model that we can actually do is, if you want to work for someone else, is they can actually hire the E2 enterprise itself for them to do the business. So, for example, if you're a graphic designer and you find someone that needs a full-time or a part-time graphic designer, you can actually have them hire the E2 enterprise for you to technically work for the company, but not really work for the company. You will be still working for the E2 enterprise, and they will 1099 you for the income that you will make under the E2 enterprise, not as an employee. So if that's what you're trying to do, I think that would be an easier way to do it than just going willy-nilly and working for someone else. So that's what I would do. Now, the other thing is that if you're the spouse of an E2 visa holder, you don't have to work for the E2 company, so you can work somewhere else. You get a work permit under the E2 classification for the spouse. So you don't have to actually have to work for the same company if you're the spouse of an E2 visa holder. Just FYI. If I apply for investor visa, can my family members also obtain visas? Absolutely. And I mentioned that earlier, that anybody and your spouse can come, even if they're not from the same country as you are. So if you're Italian and they're Filipino, or another country that doesn't have, or they're Lebanese, for example, I know Lebanon is my country, doesn't actually have an E2 treaty with the United States, an E treaty with the United States. So they can come with you even though they're not from the same country. The second thing is, as I said earlier, your children under 21 will also be able to stay in the country until they turn 21. Now, this is where it gets tricky when it's an E2 visa, because once they actually turn 21, they age out of their preference under the E2 visa, which means they can't be under the same visa anymore. So you have to actually apply for their own visa. I've seen people go into an F1 visa, which is a student visa. So they can actually do a lot of things to stay in status while they're here in the United States. But once your children turn 21, that's where it gets tricky when it's an E2 visa or an E1 visa under the E classification, or an L1 visa for that matter. So you really need to talk to an attorney, especially if you have a child who's turning 21. Really 21. You probably just want to talk to an attorney to see if you can actually switch them to another visa preference, or another way to actually let them stay in the country. Now, we just hit 30 minutes. Uh, the 30 minutes mark. I would absolutely love to answer some more questions. But again, we're going to be doing this every week, guys. You can come back next Wednesday at 2 o'clock, and we'll be able to discuss more questions. If you have questions, please email them to us to intake@americandreamlawoffice.com. If you have a burning question that cannot wait until next week, go to my website, americandreamlawoffice.com, and schedule an appointment to speak to me, or schedule an appointment to speak to one of my intake staff, and we'll be more than happy to help you. Thank you so much for following us today and listening to me for this insightful session. And thank you so much for following the American Dream Law Office. We're always empowering your dream. Thank you again, and I will see you next week.